Hi, my name is Cooper McDaniel, and this is my informal speech on how and why tornadoes happen. So, I want you to start off by imagining this. You're standing outside. It's a normal, warm spring afternoon. And then suddenly you notice that the sky begins to shift to this weird green color. The wind, it just stops. And everything around you kind of feels like it's holding its breath. That moment, that uneasy feeling that you feel is the atmosphere getting ready for a tornado. And if you live in Texas, Oklahoma, or anywhere near or in what's called Tornado Alley, you know that this stuff is very real. Tornadoes show up fast, and they can be incredibly dangerous. But when we actually understand how and why they form, we have a better chance of reacting more quickly and staying safe. You see, when I was homeschooled, I used to watch the show Tornado Chasers whenever we did science. This kicked off my obsession with tornadoes. Now, I'm not a science major, but I've been fascinated by the science and understanding how and why they form, even though I haven't seen one in person. And so here's the big idea. Tornadoes happen when moisture, instability, and wind shear all come together and converge at the right time. And so today I'm going to break down this into three simple parts. First, we'll discuss the ingredients that are needed for tornadoes. We'll look next how tornadoes actually form inside storms. And then lastly, we'll discuss why certain parts of the U.S. get tornadoes more often than others. Let's start with the basics. So the first ingredient that's needed for a tornado to actually happen is moisture. Warm, humid air from the Gulf feeds thunderstorms, which is the building blocks of tornadoes. And the second ingredient is instability. This is when the warm air at the surface rises and into the colder air above it. And the bigger the difference in these temperatures, the stronger that the storm can grow. And lastly, the third ingredient here is wind shear. This is when wind changes direction or speed as you go higher up in the atmosphere. And this creates a kind of rolling horizontal spin that allows these tornadoes to eventually develop, according to the Storm Prediction Center. And in addition to this, according to the National Severe Storms Laboratory, wind shear is the key factor that distinguishes ordinary thunderstorms from supercells, which are the storms that are most likely to produce tornadoes. Now, once these ingredients are all in play, this is when the real action starts inside the supercell storm. And so tornadoes form through a step-by-step process inside a supercell thunderstorm. And the first step of this process is the formation of what's called a mesocyclone. Inside a supercell, the storms updraft the rising air. This all tilts that horizontal rotation into a vertical spin. Next, we have the tightening rotation. And so as the spinning column it stretches upwards, it tightens, kind of like when a figure skater puts their arms in to make them spin faster when they're dancing on ice. And then finally, we get funnel cloud development. When this rotating column connects with the ground, condensation makes the funnel visible. And that's officially when a tornado forms. And according to the American Meteorology Society, they note that supercells are responsible for most strong and violent tornadoes because their rotating updrafts last much longer than regular storms. Now let's talk about why tornadoes seem to love one part of the United States more than anywhere else. And so tornadoes happen most often in what's called Tornado Alley. This is because of unique geography and weather patterns. First, we have great big air mass collisions. Warm, moist air from the Gulf meets dry air from the Southwest and cold air from Canada. And this combo and this convergence of all these different airs creates the perfect setup for these really big storms. Second, the terrain plays a huge role. We know that the Great Plains are mostly flat, which means that these air masses can come together and collide without anything blocking or slowing them down. And third, seasonal weather patterns push things over the edge. Spring and early summer have the biggest temperature differences, making these months peak tornado season. The National Weather Service reports that the U.S. sees more than 1,200 tornadoes a year, within the southern plains getting the highest concentration of these storms. And so to kind of wrap things up here, tornadoes happen when moisture, instability, and wind shear all come together and converge inside powerful supercell storms. Understanding this process helps us make sense of why they hit certain regions more often than others. And wrapping it up, today we looked at the ingredients tornadoes need, how they form inside supercells, and why we see Tornado Alley get these tornadoes much often in other areas. And so tornadoes might feel unpredictable, but the science behind them isn't. The more we understand how and why the atmosphere works, the better we can prepare, stay safe, and respect the power of these storms that we live with each and every year. Thank you.